Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the BIPOC Happy Hour. Today is Wednesday, October 21st, and we're glad that you all are here to join us in our evening wind down. And to let everybody know, the BIPOC Happy Hour, BIPOC means Black, Indigenous, people of color, and we are so glad that everyone is here to join us. Today, here in the bar, we got two guests. We got our sister Nicole from DC, and we got our good friend Sister Amin here in Minneapolis. And we're gonna bring them both in here pretty soon. I just want to make sure I introduce the Pride. Pride, everybody say hello today. Let me know
Hello,
y'all.
everybody.
Woo, I just want to make sure y'all are there with me. Good stuff. Good stuff. So we're gonna get going with a conversation piece and all that, and we're gonna bring our good friend Nicole in. She's gonna teach us a little bit about the struggles about being an entrepreneur. And we all know about how to get started on our own and be an entrepreneur. So Nicole, how you doing this afternoon?
Okay, I'm doing well. First and foremost, I feel like the biggest struggle, and I think a lot of people, we develop ideas and we like, oh, I want to create this business, but we don't know what it really takes. So first and foremost, I want to say is that we need to do more research, or I could have done more research on the business that I developed when I first started. I first started like, oh, I want to do an ice cream truck. And I'm like, oh, a food truck would make more money. Cool, it's just ideas. But then when you start doing the practical part of it, it's like, oh, the food truck, you got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. The food truck, requires another endorsement for like $600 to be able to park with the food trucks. And then it requires another monthly lottery. So, these are things that like, when you're speaking, like, oh, I want to do this, you don't think about every little small point that it takes. You know what I mean? We're so eager to get up and we only see the dollar sign, but we don't see what it takes to actually get to the dollar sign. Which brings me back to which brings me to a next point where when you first start doing it and you're making money, you're treating it like a hustle when you should be treating it like a business. Everything matters. And I felt like for the first couple years, I ran it like a hustle. I'm buying this, I'm buying that, instead of being more strategic and organized and having things kind of mapped out. And I think that's kind of a lot of where I failed. Another thing too is doing your market research. As being a food truck person, I ate off of tons of food trucks before I even decided to do this. And that's another thing, knowing what your competition is so that you can be something different from your competition, or you can offer a better product, because sometimes you start out on a business and you realize it's not working out, but you've invested so much. So it's like, do I turn back now, or do I keep riding it till the wheels fall off? And in the past, I'll say I've started other businesses that I've started and feel like they weren't working out, and I just quit. But they might have worked out had I stuck with it for a little bit of time, because the truck, I've been doing this for 6 years, and this is the second year of consistent income because I stuck with it. You know what I mean? Versus you start a business, it's not working, making a little bit of money, then you jump to something else, feeling like it's not working.
Correct.
You have to stick to something. You have to basically just, deal with it when it's not making money, when it is making money, and work on your business, not just keep running it, but think of things that can make it better. Think of things, go online, look at other people's businesses, look at how other people are charging to see if there's anything you can tweak to make it, I guess, run smooth for you.
Okay, so
So,
you
by
say
you,
you've been. Oh, go ahead, Bobby. I was gonna ask a question. You go ahead first.
by you being a single Black mother and an entrepreneur, how did this pandemic affect you? Because I know you have a 3-year-old, a 3-year-old, 4-year-old.
He's four. He's four. He's going to be 5. So what happened was the pandemic actually was really helpful to me because my scheduling before his school was a little far. So in the morning before I started the food truck, I had to go and take him 30 minutes, then come back, go clean the food truck. And this was really my biggest feat last year was that 3 o'clock, my line would get long on the truck, and I would have to stop my line and go pick him up from school on the truck. So I would get out the truck and go pick him up on the truck, which was a good thing because now this year I got a contract with DCPS to offer services. So, sometimes out of bad things, good things do happen, but I still had to persevere even when I had to rush, and I was late every day picking him up because the truck can't drive fast. I mean, I was staying to the last minute, to the last dollar. Like, if he got to be out of school at 3:15, at 3:07, I was cutting the line off.
Can I ask a question, Nicole?
And it was still people. Yes, sir.
how do you feel about your kid going back to school that you have to work the truck with COVID-19? So do you want your kids in school at this particular point?
No, I actually don't. I'm actually considering homeschooling because my son actually, he's pretty advanced for school. So right now it's like he's not being affected by the distant and virtual learning because he can read and he can articulate. And another thing I do too is I stopped worried about having a babysitter and I started to bring my son on the truck. So now he's learning how to count. He's learning how to talk to people. He's learning what the price point of things is. I opened him a bank account. So now I've learned to teach my son what I'm doing so that I can build generational wealth through him. So the pandemic has given us more time. Get it, and don't do that again. This pandemic has given us more time.
So you think
together.
that's better for him now to see you on the job training instead of being in school?
Okay, I do, honestly, because school definitely does teach you practical stuff, but school doesn't teach you lifelong, things that you need to be successful in life as a Black man. So I feel like these things I'm instilling in him are still practical. He's learning money. He's learning how to read. He's learning about products. He's learning how to speak to customers and things like that. So he's learning everyday life skills where he's only in, kindergarten. What is he going to be learning? Colors and basic stuff. So I don't feel like he's missing out on anything.
So today we have Sharon on Amin. She's running for school district here in Minnesota. And I'd like to get her opinion. Maybe you can talk about yourself and kind of get your opinion on that.
Indeed. Is she coming on or is she coming?
She's here. If she unmute herself, can you mute?
Yep, I'm here. So, I'm just listening to her speak and nodding my head to everything that she's saying. Again, school doesn't teach us how to be prepared for life outside of school, right? And so to hear her taking the advantage of being able to teach her own child and give him those life skills that would help to move him on and teach him that generational wealth. I love it. I love it. Everyone doesn't have that opportunity, but the fact that she can make it work for her, I love it. I think it needs to be an opportunity for all parents, again, to create what works best for them. We can't create a model for everybody because everybody's story is different. And so when we leave room, so the pandemic has basically uncovered everything, right? All the shortfalls on where the school has fallen short and how they continue to push the students through the system. And like she said, in kindergarten, from what I've experienced at North Minneapolis, sometimes the classrooms are all day just coloring, right? And the teachers are excited that they've got the child to sit in the class and just color all day, but they've learned no reading. They haven't did anything with math. They haven't learned how to engage with each other. And when they start playing with each other, if it gets too aggressive, sometimes the teacher will send them out of the room and then they start getting labeled with this behavior problems and everything else. So I love it. Again, everybody's story is different, but I think that's where we got to get to know each other and build those relationships to figure out what works best for the parents.
So what do you think about, the fact that you're running this year for, what is it, school board?
School board District 2 in North Minneapolis,
right.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
For running for school board district means that I would be a representation for our North Side schools. So I will be one of the 9 members that sits on the board and makes the decision about the curriculums that comes through the school, make recommendation about the community partnerships that comes to the school. We are the ones who hire or fire the superintendents of the schools. Our school board actually create a lot of the different laws and regulations for the school. It encompasses a whole lot. There's 9 individuals that sits on the board. The main focus, again, is with the hiring of the superintendent. And then the school board representatives are the ones who hold that superintendent accountable for everything that happens across the district within our school. Me being District 2 would just be North Side schools. So that would be my focus. That would be where I would make the connections is within the North Side of Minneapolis, where, from what I've experienced, the children just get pushed through the schools. They get pushed through the system. They celebrate about graduation rates going up, but our children aren't equipped. They aren't able to even get out here and to compete with their peers when it comes to the middle school and the high school level. And we got to change that. We have to change that. And so, as a board member, you have that opportunity to connect with your community, one, to hear what the concerns are, what is it that they would like to see, how can we better serve their children, our families within our community, and bring that back to the table to discuss, to try to create those laws to make sure that our children are being serviced. That's the role of the school board members.
So is it important to vote?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We cannot leave it the way that it is. I mean, and that's what has happened. We have had too many people that have just slid in the seats. And I say slid because we don't pay attention a lot of times to the school board election. We put the focuses on the higher, the presidential election and the mayor election, and we put all our energy and our focus into that, and we forget about what affects us locally, and that's your school board. That's your state representative. That's your Congress. Those are the races that touch our home, right? Those are the people that are deciding about all these different potholes and the different things that are happening in our cities, right? Those are the people who are making decisions for the resources that come through our schools. So absolutely, we have to vote. If you live in Minneapolis or wherever you live, you should have a voice in a decision on who's your representation for your school area. Yes.
Can I ask a question? I want to know just some clarity on the role of the school board. And so, are you able to influence curriculum as a school board member?
Yes.
And what's taught?
In fact, one of the school board members actually recently just passed a resolution to have more ethnic curriculums in the school. So yes, you do have that power to speak about the different curriculums. Now, it takes the community to come together. Again, there's a lot of different laws that are on the school board's agenda that have been passed, but there's no accountability. No one's holding them accountable for what they should be doing in the schools. So yes, as a school board member, we do have a critical role that we play in the curriculums that are being taught in our schools. Yes.
So by you running, what difference are you going to make? Because I hear you saying that North Side is really bad, and I think it's really all over the country that people of color schooling is bad. Is they push us through and don't care. Now, what are you going to do to change that? Because I mean, are you a parent?
Am I what? I'm sorry.
A parent.
Parent, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
By you being a person of color with a child, you know the struggles that we have. Okay. So what would you do to make it better for us? You know what I mean? Our children. Yeah. Because I have a 5-year-old, he's in kindergarten. You feel what I'm saying? So I feel better me teaching them because I'm teaching them everything that I would want him to do. But I do miss him going to school because I want to be a soccer dad. You understand what I'm saying? So but I'm kind of nervous of the things that he's going to be taught. So can I speak after? What are you going to do to change that? Change the things that's in the school system?
Yep. Well, and I'm sorry, does she want to speak after or before? Nicole?
I couldn't speak after. I just have a question once you address him.
Okay. One of the things that I would do, my campaign is running on action. I have lived and worked in North Minneapolis for over 30 years, right? All my children have went through Minneapolis public schools. So I have seen the good and I have seen the bad. I regret a lot of things, leaving them there. And I want to make a difference because, again, I live in the community and I have to fight. So one of the things that I will be doing differently is making connections with all my Northside schools, going in and finding out who are the parent organization representatives, because I think that is where the power is controlled. When we have strong parent organization in those schools, then we have that accountability trail. We have those parents that are holding those teachers accountable, that are up at the school, that are making sure that teachers are doing what they're supposed to do. So what I would do, what no other board member is doing right now, is connect with the schools and find out who are those parent leaders And then let's have a roundtable discussion, right? What is it that you need? What is it that's working for you? How can we make your child's school experience the best? And then as we talk about that and we come up with this roundtable discussion and we put all this down, we make a plan and we move forward with passing these resolutions, but they won't be my resolution. There'll be resolutions from the parents deciding what they want. And I'm that voice who's bringing that information to the table to be discussed, to make sure that it rolls out for, again, the people that we serve. So there is, in Minneapolis, there's no connection with the parents. We know that we don't trust our school system. I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. There is no trust in our school system. We get a bunch of white teachers that come into our schools, in our urban schools, and they don't know how to teach our children. They come in, they want to befriend our children. I've experienced that. And even in high school, it's even more dangerous because you get these young white teachers that want to come in and they want to befriend your child as opposed to being the educator, right? Or the disciplinary for them. And so as a parent, you have to be able to make sure that you are identifying and being involved and making that connection with your child and then with the school so that we are present and that things like that don't happen. Because the last thing we need is for a young Black boy to get tied up with a young white teacher, right? And we know how that story will end. So that has been a huge concern for me. Again, in our urban schools and patterns that I've seen, I've pushed to have some teachers removed because it was just too close of a relationship. And they forget about being the teacher and they want to become a friend. So for me, again, my strength come in my connection with the community. It comes with the connection that I've already made with the parents. I know that I have a trusting relationship with lots of families throughout our community. And I believe that that's where it starts. If you don't have a trust with someone, I'm not going to, how are we going to build, you know what I mean? How are we going to work together? And our system has failed us. We've seen it. We have a right to not have that trust, right? We've seen it. We've experienced it. We know how they continue to push us through. So I will again be that voice with the help of my community to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, real quick, Nicole had a question, and then we'll go to Roxanne.
Okay, so yeah, real quick, like after, her explaining, so my question is to her, or for what she said, is like, if you don't get a high parent involvement, because the same thing happens in DC, and my son actually goes to a Montessori school, so it's totally different. The parents are involved. They have way more funding as far as the budgeting and things like that. So they have all the tools that they need to succeed versus where, I come from an urban community and I was bussed out to a white community. So I know both sides, but if the parents in the urban community aren't willing to come forward or come to the meetings or do the homework or do that, like, how do you plan to combat that when the parents aren't doing what they're supposed to do? Because that's where it starts at with the parents. Like, you can't force the parents to be who they need to be, but you as an official, how do you plan to to get parent involvement when some of these parents don't really even care? Like, I guess that's my question.
Right.
Good question.
And that's real. That's real. Mm-hmm. But again, I think it's the trust. Why are we as parents, why do we choose not to show up? Because you're tired of hearing the same old broken story, right? You're tired of seeing things not happen. You're tired of showing up at these meetings and nothing happens and it's the same old, right? So again, where I come in at is rebuilding that trust within our community and building those relationships to try to establish the way things used to be in our schools. I mean, we had strong parents and I believe, and I know we can, with the right leadership, still have strong families and strong schools that will show up.
No, we had older parents. I don't want to cut you off, but I feel like the parents were older. So now with the new generation and the younger parents and the younger grandmothers, like, I feel like that education part is lost. Like, that's not the main focus anymore. The main focus is maybe the kid looking nice or dressing cool for Instagram, like, versus like education.
I mean, everything you're saying, Nicole, is real. So again, I take it back to the table with community. We got to have these conversations. You can't move forward if you don't have the conversations, if you don't come together and try to create strategies and work together with building a system. It has to start somewhere. And if we're not even having the conversations, how are we going to address the situations? So I totally agree with you. We are dealing with a different generation. We are dealing with, but we still have those grandmothers and those aunties and stuff that we can reach out to. And we got to figure out how to bring that younger generation into it. We need to have some room and some space for them to be involved and to have a voice as well.
Rox?
Hi, Sharon. Thanks for being with us today. As one of the authors of the guidance for transgender youth in schools, I'm curious how you will uphold the rights and liberties of transgender youth, dependent or regardless of what administration comes next.
I think the first is by creating relationships like this with the BIPOC, right? We got to create relationships. We have to be able to have an opportunity for spaces like this to have these conversations and for you to tell me what's needed. I mean, again, I don't know what's needed if you don't tell me, but I need to create that space for you to tell me that. So education is about everybody learning. It's about us all coming to the table and trying to learn from each other. That's about the best I can. That's what I would say, Rox. I would need your help. I would need your support to know what's needed because again, it's all about our needs and how we service each other. Make sure that we all feel safe and that we all feel like we can move forward and we can be our best selves no matter how we show up.
Well, the main word you just said was safe. Now, that's going to take me to the coronavirus, which we're dealing with today. Now, what is your view about the schools going back to letting kids come back in? Even if it's for part-time, I know they asked me for 2 days in, 2 days, 1 day out, and 2 days back in. What do you think about what they're doing now? You know, as far as asking you to bring your children back, are you promoting that, or you think we should listen to science?
I think we still need to hold off. And I'm speaking from the North Side schools and the safety and the cleanliness and everything else that goes into it, right? I mean, as much as I want to see our children back in schools, I don't know that we are equipped and that we have that safe space for them to be in that environment just yet. I think while we're out, emphasis needs to be put on how do we create that safe space? How do we make sure that we have the hand washing stations, right? Some of our schools don't even have working hand washing stations all throughout the schools. I mean, again, just keeping it real. When we talk about the safety, you need to have all the hand washing safety. You need to have masks that are available for everyone. You need to have the distance. You need to have the plexiglass. We don't have that yet in our North Side schools. We don't
None
have
of that?
we don't have any of that. Just I mean, hand washing, yeah, maybe at some of the schools, but not all throughout. There's some safety issues that needs to be addressed before we just open back up the doors to our families.
So I have a question. You have spoke, I think really emphasizing the importance of community engagement. But as let's say you win the election and you become one of the school board members, I think you said you would be one of 9.
Yeah, one of 9, yes.
Okay, and so what are your strategies you plan to use to build relationships with the rest of the school board members, to like get them to support some of the things that we're speaking about? Because you would only be 1 vote,
right?
Out of 9. And so I'm just curious about your ability to build relationships with folks and, be able to hopefully get others to come on board and support, some of the things that you have talked about being in support of here so that we can actually accomplish what we need to through the school board.
Yep. I actually have a relationship with 3 of the other board members that are supporting me and standing behind me in my campaign. And so again, I know that I can work with others, and I'm bringing my community with me. I'm bringing my community with me, my parents to show up, just like the white folks do it. When they want something passed, they bring in the community, right? And so I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be talking. You're going to know what the issues are. I'm not coming single. I'm just one, but I'm not coming individually.
Gotcha. That is awesome. That is totally awesome. Glad that you're putting your heart into this because We need more people like you to participate in things like this so we can move ahead.
Absolutely.
And that's what our problem is. We don't have enough people sitting at the table. And I'm glad we've got somebody willing to be at the table to take on things like this.
Yeah.
Are you on TikTok?
No, I don't do TikTok.
Oh, okay, I think you saw them on there doing one of them dances, like everyone else. I mean, because why I'm saying that, because these times, us being older people, older parents, and we have to move forward with the kids. You know what I mean? Because we don't want to be out of the loop. Because that's what a lot of our parents was. They was out of the loop of what was going on when things was coming in and out. So our parents was real strict, because if they didn't know, they wasn't down with it, because that's the way they was raised. So I think that us as a people, we should open our eyes and listen to our kids, for one, and also try to move with them, because they can teach us a whole lot, that we don't know, because I'm learning, not from eyes of me as he get older, but I'm around young kids. You feel what I'm saying? Young adults. So I'm learning, what's going on in this time. Because if I didn't, I would be lost. I wouldn't know about TikTok, and I have so much fun on TikTok. So,
I haven't made it there.
Some of the people are supporting you over North, because I know I voted for you, because I already voted already, so I know I voted for you. So some of the people who support you, who is in politics over North, that knows you for years and years and years, because I've been knowing you of you for years and years. I've seen it in different places. So who are some of the people that support you over North for the district?
Right now, as far as community support, I have Nikemi Levy Armstrong, I have Larry McKenzie, I have Al Flowers, I have Pastor Sharon, I have Pastor Timothy Jackson, I have Matthew Ramadan, I have Jackie Cherry Home, I have Barb Johnson, I have who else is it? The Johnson family, Cassie and Steve Johnson. I have Natalie Johnson Lee. So I have tapped into a lot of our community leaders to push for this. I'm running independent because, again, I'm running independent, and I'm bringing the community with me. I'm bringing the community with me, and that's how we're going to represent. We've seen too much of the other stuff. So my family has been in the community for over 25, 30 years. My name is known, but I'm not taking it for granted. I'm still out here door knocking. I'm still out here talking to the people. I'm still out here Facebooking, emailing, and doing everything to reach the people. So I'm doing everything that I possibly can do, and I need your help to continue to push and all the support that we can get to move forward. But I'm running on community because that's what's missing.
Got to start from the bottom to get up to the top.
Can you just make a statement that you were speaking on behalf of yourself, Dennis Anderson, not on behalf of PLC Pride?
Oh yeah, but
I knew you voted for,
yeah, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but yes, I've been knowing Sharon for years, so definitely I would support her no matter what. But that being said, I was thinking this, looking, being over North, being a North Sider for years and years and years, even going to the restaurants and knowing your name, and people have read things about you, so the other, how do you feel about the LGBT community?
How do I feel about the LGBT community?
Right.
I mean, they are individuals just like everyone else. There's no separation. That we all have our needs, and we all have to be serviced. We all have to know how to work together. For me, it's not about how you show up, just show up and let's get the work done. I am not I can't judge, I can't formulate, but I want to know that I can rely on you. I want to know that you're dependent. I want to know that you will show up in the spaces that are needed. So I would fight the same way I would for anyone who's straight, Black, white, whatever the case may be. That's how I will show up to make sure. So.
And how do we show up for you?
How do you show up for me? I mean, I have friends that I can call on that's there for me, that are champions for me, that, do things for me, that lend a hand, that I lend a hand, that The support is there because, again, we take people at face value for who they are. To me, whatever you do on your time is your time. It's not for me to judge. It's not for me, like I said, show up, let's make this happen, and let's do what we have to do together to move forward, making sure that we all are safe, that we all feel comfortable in that space, and that we can work together to make it happen. I don't know any other way to work with it. So
I agree.
What can we do to help you? That's what he was asking, I believe. What can we do as POC Pride, to make it easier for a person like you that's dealing with our children that's maybe LGBTQ plus? What can POC do to make sure that they are comfortable in in their skin in school? Because that's a big thing. Because a lot of our kids kill out there, commit suicide because they're not comfortable in their skin because of school. So what can we do as POC board to help you help our kids?
I mean, I think having conversations like this, and even more conversations where we can dive a little deeper into what those needs are, how the children, what do they face? Is it that depression? What type of other resources can I try to go out and seek to make available for our children? Again, it's the safe space and having the conversations, being able to talk about it and what the needs are so that we can create it. What I would like to see actually is a young adult representation for the school board. That's a voice that's missing. And so again, that's another avenue that we have to tap into, that we have to create that space for our youth to move into these spaces, right? For us to be able to hear from them, for us to know what their needs are. So for me, I would say again, the whole accountability piece, hold me accountable. If there's something that I can do or you see a need, let's talk about it. Let's see how we can work together to make it happen. And let's just continue to build a trusting relationship to where we both feel like we can work together and it's in the best interest of everybody. So
Now, due to the fact you don't have a young individual on the board, do you think you can put together something like a young advisory board for you all? There's some things that you can ask about certain issues, because that's the problem with America at this moment. Period. We have a lot of older folks running things that still set in their ways from back when, and where we in 2020, 2021, what I'm saying, things are totally different.
right.
So I was wondering, is it something that you can do, your board can do, is put it together a young advisory board where y'all can sit there and communicate with them and find out what's needed to be happening and what what makes school easier for them, or whatever it may be. What I'm saying? I can't speak for them, but whatever it may be, can y'all do that?
I think there's room for that. I think there is room. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I would advocate for 2 seats on the board. And the reason I say that is because it's an advisory committee is great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if they don't listen to the damn committee, what power is there in that committee? They can have the advisory committee too, but we get 2 seats for youth on the board. They could work. I'm sure there'll be some adults that support some of their ideas, but like having them be able to actually have a say, that's where they could actually have a say. Because I don't know, I've been involved in advisory committees, and sometimes you advise people and
They don't hear you.
they go do whatever they want to do. It's like they heard, like they didn't even hear what you said. So I just want to raise that we should give them some real power.
Yeah, and there's actually 1 seat now today for a student representative. Now, how much power, how much weight? I haven't heard a lot out of those student representatives. Again, I'm not in yet to know exactly how it all operates, but there is actually 1 seat that is available for a student representative. The current student is from South High School. So what I would want to know is, 1, how are the students selected? And then what role does that student representative play? how is that person going into the school and finding out exactly what's needed from the students and bringing that information back, right? So um, I say there is room for student representation. It is needed because we need to hear from our students, we need to learn from our students, and we need to know how we can make things better for them. And so that would, again, be something that I would be willing to work with and try to push to make happen within the school board. Yes.
Well, as Nicole was talking about, I lost my train of thought. Um, Life experiences. I know growing up, I had home economics, I had sexual education, I had all these things that made me be prepared for life when I left school or left home. Is that something that can be offered within the school system now? Because I know a lot of schools don't have music. I grew up in music. I was in the orchestra. I was in the band. You know, I was in fashion design. All those things I don't hear the kids doing these days. You know, so it makes them do other things that they don't need to be doing. We're not sparking their interest.
Right.
So is it a way that we can implement those things back into the school system? Because those are
They're
some
gone forever. No, I was just saying, are they gone forever? I'm sorry.
Right. Are they gone forever? Because those are some things I think kids should have. So,
And VOTEC. Yep, and VOTEC classes.
yeah, and voting and no more
Not
than
voting,
Oh,
VOTEC.
no, VOTEC classes. That
VOTEC.
might, yeah. They used to have actual VOTEC.
So that's like training, like
yeah, vocational training and stuff.
right.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a
okay.
for folks that maybe they don't want to go to college. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, you can go to VOTEC Academy.
Good paying job.
Vocational school. You talking about vocational
Yeah.
school?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. But also to know about politics, because we only know about the president. We don't know about if we vote the president in,
Civic
but
engagement.
it's some other folks that we need to be voting in too to help this president that we voted in. You know what I'm saying? So I think that should be implemented in there too, and also finances, like Nicole said. Teach these kids that hey, you don't use your credit because your mama I want to go turn on or get a credit card or turn on cable. You know, you need your credit for this, that, and the other. You know, you need to learn how to save your money. Oh, this is how you buy a house, or this is how you start a business. A lot of those things I wasn't taught until I was sitting across the table with Nicole. We just sit here throwing ideas back and forth. Like she said, it just become ideas and we do millions of things, but it don't go up because we feel that it's not going to work. But if we have that type of education from jump, I think a lot of my ideas would have blew up, you know.
And again, my campaign, I'll go back to my campaign, is running on action. And to me, that's where that community partnership even comes in at. That's where we can bring in community and we can bring in more teachers that look like us. We can bring in more experience, right, from within our community. So even if it's not during those school hours, create the time for after school and before school. You know, we got these buildings that are sitting unoccupied, but yet we don't have space for our youth to be able to be in a safe space, right? That's why things are the way they are. When I was in school, I'm a product of Chicago Public School, and we had those after school things happening. We had your park boards that you can go to and get all these different skills and training from. We don't, it's very limited. It's very limited, and that's why we have to change it. I mean, when we have too much time on our hands, what do? Find ourselves getting in trouble, right? I mean, let's just keep it real. Either you're online shopping or you're doing whatever, but too much time on your hands it can be very dangerous. And so we have to not only just sports, because everybody is not a sports fanatic. There needs to be all those different things that you just mentioned that our children can tap into. And so that's where, again, I gotta bring the community with me. I gotta bring the community with me to bring on these real issues that need to be discussed and that we need to pull and we need to fight for. And I will bring the instruments on how we fight for it, right? So part of my campaign will be having small round or town halls, if you will, maybe every 6 weeks to talk with the community. Again, to have that space for you to have that contact with me one-on-one, and let's talk about it. it won't be everybody, but I know that the math of what people will make it better for everybody, right? And so that's how we got to start. We got to start somewhere, and there is nowhere. And I'm confident enough to say that no one on our board is bringing it. And I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. No one on our board is bringing that to our community, and that is what is needed.
Do you have anybody you're going up against for this position?
I am running up against the incumbent for District 2. Yes. So,
okay.
Yep. Yes.
Sharon, thanks again for being here. And thanks for offering ideas for us as individuals. And, you know, since we're a nonprofit and we can't really like, you know, advocate for one party or the other, I think, you know, offering us ideas as individuals and how we can get involved is a great gift. So thank you for that. I'm wondering if you can tell me what you feel is the most pressing social justice issue for 2022.
The most pressing social issue?
Social justice issue.
Wow. Within our community, again, it's quite a bit that we are dealing with as a Black person, as Black Indigenous people here in this society. Socially, again, I would say it's more of there's just a huge disconnect with the individuals that are being put in front of us to educate our children. We're not making the cultural connection within our communities. And so our children are missing out on learning about their culture. Our community is not being addressed or not being given the resources that are needed, because again, we don't have the individuals representing us. We don't have people that look like us. We don't have people that understand the experience that we've been through. And so socially, I guess, again, our children are being robbed of our culture. They don't know our history. They don't know our history, and they don't know everything that goes behind the beautiful story of us as African American, as Black people. They don't know it, and they're not being given the opportunity to have that in our public schools.
Do you have does the school board have creative choice over the curriculum? I mean, I know you kind of briefly talked about it earlier. Do they have control of the curriculum of our kids to actually learn stuff of our heritage?
The school board does make the decision on what curriculum is chosen for the school. Yes. Yes. And so there's a whole process that you have to go through in selecting that curriculum. But again, we can have the curriculum, but if you don't have the individuals that know how to teach the curriculum, what good is it?
Okay, guys, you got me. You got me.
See, and so we just have to keep, and so that's where we as a people, we understand that. We understand that. So I don't care what the paper said, but if you're not, yeah.
If you can't teach it, that's no good.
Exactly.
So Nicole, are you there, Nicole? Nicole? I guess she's not there. Okay.
It says she there. So as you move forward in this school board election, knowing what you know now, knowing that we don't have the tools enough to equip ourselves, and knowing that we have Caucasian teaching our Black kids, how do we get them at home or get the parents, or even find out what we can do as non-parents to help, you know, with after school programs or something, you know, something like that? How do we, you know, even doing like, if we start a center, what are some of the things that we can think about doing to help with that whole after school curriculum idea?
I mean, I think it's just that we got to start those little areas. We got to find those safe space. We have to reach out to those parents. It has to start with the trust. It's all of, I say every time, it's all about the messenger, right? It's the messenger who's bringing forth the message, right? Who's building that trust to basically sell your idea on what it is you're trying to do and to build that trust. And I confident. I'm walking in confidence, and I feel strong enough that I have shown up for my community. I have built relationship with my parents, and I know that if there's a good opportunity that I trust, that I can bring forward to my parents, that I will be one to stand out in front and push those different things to make it happen.
I just have a question. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
We got you this time. Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, I didn't know if you guys could hear me.
We got you.
What resources are you giving the teachers to better equip them to deal with the different type of children? I know I heard a lot of people say that our white teachers are teaching our Black children. I don't feel like the race is the thing, but like, what tools do you equip like a white teacher who doesn't know how to deal with a Black student or doesn't know how to communicate with a Black parent to where it's, I guess they understand, but like the best way so that the parent is getting what they need to help the child and that they understand that the teacher is there for the child. Because I feel like there's a big miscommunication sometimes with the teachers and the parents. So what tools are you guys giving the teachers? And another thing, this is just an opinion. I think there should be an age limit on teachers because a lot of teachers, like a lot of, let's say, since we're talking about race, a lot of the young Caucasians come out of college and they're like 23, 24, and they become a teacher when they haven't had enough practical life skills to become a teacher. They're still like, they still live at home with mommy, so they're still children themselves. So how can they be the ones to lead our children?
Hmm. Again, Nicole, that's actually an area that I've been having conversation. I think that all new teachers need to be paired with a seasoned teacher. I don't think our new teachers need to be coming in and have an opportunity to just jump right into the classroom. There needs to be some type of teacher shadowing.
Like an internship, like doctors, how they do and things like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally think that needs to happen. And again, in our urban schools, because that's where they tend to send them, right? They give us all the little young, fresh, they don't know how to deal with our children. Again, they come in, they try to befriend them, and they miss the whole point. So that is something, again, that we need to fight for. We need to push for. We need to make sure we have those conversations and address that issue with that whole scenario. And then as far as resources for the teachers, I have to go back to the cultural training, the cultural awareness. We can put the teachers through that training, but it's up to that leader to make sure that they are applying the things that they learn, right? So that's where the accountability comes in at. We have tons of Black groups, right, that can come in and that can train, that can teach them, that can give them the resources. But if they are not being held accountable or being I don't want to say watched or being, you know what I mean, some type of matrix to see how it's showing up in their classroom. Again, what good is it doing us? Then we got to get away from what I see is Minneapolis can show you their book, right? The blueprint and all this stuff that they got in it. But nobody is holding them accountable. Nobody is making sure that these things are being done. And so again, it's just like they can check the box, but it ain't really happening. And I said ain't. I did. Yes. Sorry.
Just one more quick question. How does the budget and like when I hear you guys saying like in the urban areas there's less funding, how does the budget get allotted to schools? Does it get allotted by neighborhoods, since we're saying like the better neighborhoods and the better people get money? Like, how do they? No, I know about the census and I just did the census with people, but like, is that how they, divvy out the money? Because the money's actually more needed in the urban communities than in the predominantly white communities. They have way more. So how does that work?
It's actually per pupil. And so what tends to happen is the urban school have less students than those suburban schools. So you got an urban school that has 300 students, and then you got the schools on the south side that got 2,000, 3,000. So they are getting more dollars because of the amount of students that they have in that school, whereas the urban school has less individuals. So it's all about the per pupil, per person in the school. But again, that's a system designed to make it be that way, right? Why do we have less children in our school? Is because we don't have the resources. We don't have everything that those other schools are offering. So as a parent, I want my child to be in the best environment. So I'm going to put my child over in these other schools, even if I have to transport them or do whatever I need to do. So that's a systemic issue that we have, right? They
Sharon,
continue
is that
to.
Who fixes that? Like, how does, I'm sorry to cut anybody, but like, how do we change that? Even from where you are, from where I am, how do you go about changing that? Because it's just going to continue to be the same thing, you know, a repeating process if nobody stands up and changes this 100-year-old curriculum or this 100-year-old system that's just not working anymore.
Sharon, is that the school reporting how many students are in attendance, or does that data actually come from the census where parents are reporting their zip code and how many kids are in their home?
It's actually a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. The census gives dollars to the city and the different areas to take care of certain things, right? And so then the school gets a certain population. So we are underfunded, even from a legislative point. We need to be fighting not only from the school board, but we got to fight with the state because our schools are underfunded, and the state needs to be given more dollars for the students that are actually in the schools. So we have to have the conversation. I know here in North Minneapolis, we have lost a lot of families, right? We continue to lose families from the schools, but who's having the conversation with those parents to find out why? Why are you pulling your child from the school? What is it that we can do differently? You know what I mean? Understand why and how, again, do we service our people? How do we service our community? If we're not having those conversations, then we're just going to continue to make decisions that do not benefit us. And this is what we're going to continue to see happen. It's basically like a ricochet effect that, again, they're saying we're doing this, but it's of no benefit to us. So the community has got to come back together. We got to figure this all out. We got to pull ourselves together. We got to have these conversations with our families. We understand why you're not sending your child to the school, but let's also fight for those things to come back into our community at the same time.
Everybody, I want to thank everybody for joining us here at the BIPOC Happy Hour. I just want to remind you, I want to thank Sharon, Amin, and thank our good friend Nicole for joining us today. Just want to let everybody know we're on the wind down the bar. This is last call for Happy Hour. And if there's any announcements or anything that needs to be shared, I want to give everybody an opportunity just to remind y'all. Last call for alcohol.
Nicole, I would like for you to share where you at in DC and what your company is about and where they can find you at.
It's really noisy. I'm trying not to even cut. 1 second.
Well, you also can go to Dead Old Country Boy Mobile Market. There's Dead Old Country Boy Mobile Market on Facebook, Instagram, and all social media networks. Dead Old Country Boy Mobile Market will be selling vegetables, fresh produce in the neighborhood near you.
Do you ship to DC?
Unfortunately, no, not at the moment, but I do have Bobby Leroy's who ship to all over the United States. Also, check out Bobby Leroy's Closet. You can get your face masks, face shields, and also updated men's clothing, children's clothing, anything like that. And we are all on all social media platforms.
Everybody out there, do not forget to vote. If you have not, early voting is still going on. There is no reason you can't get in there before November 3rd. Do not wait until November 3rd. Go now. There's hardly anybody in there. Go in, go get it done.
Vote.
It'll be over and done.
And wear face masks, wash your hands, and wear some hand sanitizer. Yeah. Coronavirus is real.
Again, we want to thank all of our guests for being here. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you all, Nicole. I don't want to forget on behalf of everybody to thank you all for being here. Is there any last words that you all want to say before?
I love you all. I love you guys. Black love.
Thank you.
No, and I would just say thank you everybody for having me on. Let's build a relationship. Let's keep connected regardless of what happens. This is my community and we got to fight together. We got to make sure that we represent. So remember, Sharon for Schools, District 2, but let's build this relationship and do what we need to do for our kids.
Good luck, Sharon. I'm counting on you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody get out and vote. Don't forget to vote. Vote like your life depends on it.
That's
And
right.
also, make sure you tune in. Coming soon, POC Watch Party. POC Watch Party. We watching P-Valley. I know everyone haven't seen that. So y'all gonna meet Uncle Clifford real soon. So keep your eyes.
Shout out Miss Mississippi. Hey.
Yes, Miss Mississippi. So keep your eyes, folks, on our social media networks and for us to launch our first watch party. That's the POC watch party, and we watching P-Valley with Uncle Clifford in Mississippi.
Coming up very soon.
So check us out.
Well, again, everybody, thank you for joining us for another wonderful evening at the BIPOC Happy Hour. Special thanks to all of our guests for coming. Thank you all, Pride, for joining us. It's a great topic. As you can see, hopefully you got a chance to catch some of our wonderful conversation here about the school board. These are things that every child needs, regardless of your background. We need to watch out for our young people. And again, we look forward to seeing you again on the next time of our show. We'll be here again on Friday for the Friday Wind Down. Please join us. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Everybody, say bye to everybody. Hey, thank y'all for joining us.